When she exploded on television, that's not something I can explain satisfactorily. I'd not a bit of sympathy for her before the accident. I was completely indifferent. I vaguely knew she was on television. This wasn't some teenage fan scenario. The children were home. My wife was at work. We shared the summer holidays, my wife and I, the childcare I mean. They were running around the table, chasing each other, sweating. Oh, everything was hot. Hottest June on record. We had the ceiling fans on, the windows open. That's what started the commotion off. Chasing after blasted flies, screaming up and down the stairs, around the coffee table. I had an empty glass jug I was bringing in from the patio. I'd had enough of the pair of them. In and out, the noise. I turned on the television. I thought it might calm them, give them some focus, and I'd get some peace and quiet. The explosion. I saw her burning on the floor. I was standing no further than I'm sitting from you now. The remote control was in my hand. I pressed standby. Monica was always on at me for leaving the set on standby. I'm sure she doesn't give a shit what I do now. But there you go. The picture strengthened, and there she was. Saturday morning TV, sitting, swinging her legs either side of the platform, like a teenage girl. It was a loading van, one of those with the controllable platforms, for moving furniture, something a delivery company might use. Swinging her legs either side of the platform, in yellow. Was she wearing yellow? I remember in yellow for some reason. Maybe it was the hair. Her whole head was a bit like a child's drawing. Blonde spikes sticking out at all angles from her round, smiley head. Choppy. It's how they ask for it in the hairdressers. Choppy layers. My wife's had it before. Well, that caught fire too. If you want something to happen, that's what she said before the motorbike burst through. A black sugar paper they taped over the van. Sugar paper. This is the BBC we're talking about. Taped over the back of the van. I don't know how that passed the health and safety officer. Sugar paper. Then she caught fire. If you want something to happen, that's what she said. Then bang! She blew up. Stranger than fiction. The whole thing is. The way she spoke into the microphone seemed so... I don't know how best to talk about this. Her speech was slow, deliberate, I remember her saying the words very deliberately into the microphone. It was a foam microphone, bulbous. The metal platform was stuck out from between her legs, jutting out like this, quite shiny between her thighs. They were live, rolling. She was looking right at me. There must have been some confusion when they called action. She started burning. She was never out of papers. The children stopped watching. I vaguely kept track of the magazines. I'm not one of these celebrity hounds. I don't follow Big Brother's House and the Bake Off. I'm a serious man. I care about my wife and children. Cared. And the way she fell to the ground. She didn't fall. No. I can't explain how she ended up on the floor. Not fully. Not in a way that is satisfactory. Well, there must have been some mistake. She started burning. Television on, swinging legs. White trainer, silver platform between her thighs. microphone head, mouth, blonde spike. She said, if you want something to happen, the motorbike revved, the wheels burst through the paper, smoke, flames, hunched over, her shoulder was on fire. Nobody came to help her. Hunkered down is the best way to describe it. Then she keeled off the platform, snapped onto the concrete, smoking like a sack of, well, like a burning body. Awful. Then the bike sped off too. Then I dropped the jug on his head. I dropped the jug of water on my son's head. He passed out. I called an ambulance. There's documentation. I was found on her garden on the 25th of October 2015 because the police were called, Your Honour. I'm telling you what happened. Nothing I say makes a blind bit of difference. We ended things, Monica and I, since that time. I mean, Julian's head was... Things between me and my wife have always been difficult. Perhaps they were sour before that day. I mean, we'd stopped sleeping together at some point. Well, what's the point of dredging it all back up? Julian had his stitches, his head healed, and my wife filed for divorce. Good riddance, say I. I joined the Reader's Digest dating, you know, a few months back now. Well, that's how I heard about the programme, because she was back on the television. She divorced from that prat. I read it in the paper. Correct. I drove all the way from Altrincham down to Surrey in the dead of night to stand in her front garden because she was single. I'm not being... Those are the things I did, but not because she was single. Listen, I can't explain my actions here any better than I can explain them to myself. But there must be an explanation. There just must be an explanation if other people want one. There isn't one. There are no explanations. I watched the explosion video on the internet. Not hard to find. I watched it. Oh, I didn't go there to convince her to run away with me, if that's what you're thinking. Oh, Anthea, my darling! I went to talk to her. I had to clear some things up about the explosion. The sugar paper. The way she fell, you know. I had to tell her about Julian's head. I thought she'd understand. She was there, sort of. A smouldering heap on the floor. And you want to know something else while you're asking? That's how I felt these past years. A heap. Lying on the floor. In the nude. In the ruins of your manhood. Crying at 58 years of age on Anthea Turner's front lawn.